Hi, in today's demo I'd like to show you how code snippet detection works in FossID. Of course, software development practices are constantly evolving, and so we're also constantly evolving the algorithms we use for consistent identification, accurate matching, and minimizing noise. By the time you've finished watching this demo, we've likely already implemented new enhancements. But with that caveat aside, let's take a closer look at how FossID helps you find modified and partial instances of open source software that may have made its way into your software project by way of the copy-paste or generative AI coding tools. Oh, and one more disclaimer. Everything I'm showing you manually can be automated in your development workflow, but I'm using this manual method so you can see the snippet detection at work behind the scenes. In this example, I'm going to take a proprietary file and copy-paste a snippet from an open source project. Then I'm going to modify that snippet in a few different ways. First, I will just make some basic style changes like the indentations. Then I'm going to make some more advanced style changes, things like adding comments and changing the spacing in the code. After that, I'll make some structural changes, merge some lines and break up other lines. And finally, I'll go further and modify the code by changing some parameter names. And along the way, with these 4 files, you'll get to see FossID snippet detection at work and how it stands up to these different levels of code modifications. So let's get into it. For this exercise, I'm using FossID's Quick View rather than run a full-blown project scan. Quick View is one of the available tools in the main menu. If you go to Tools, you will see Snippet Search, Vulnerable Snippet Finder, and Quick View, which allows me to drag and drop files, which I've already done. This allows you to get instant results that you can inspect without having to create a project, then configure it, and run a scan on all of the code. This is a great way to get what you need very quickly. So let's look at this file we're using in this demonstration. This is a proprietary file from FossID, and I've copy-pasted this function from OpenFastPath, otherwise known simply as OFP, which is an open source project licensed under BSD3. If I click on the match that FossID has found, I can see that this function has been reused verbatim. It's just identical to the code in OFP. So that demonstrates our first case, simple enough. Now we'll move on to the next file representing our next case. This is where I made very basic changes, just changed the indentation. As you can see, everything, all of the annotations, all of the lines have changed, but as you can tell by the yellow highlight, FossID indicates the match has been found as you would expect. Alright, now in our next file, we are not only adding and removing some spaces, we're making some other minor style changes and also adding a comment. And despite these changes, spacing, indentations, line breaks, comments, FossID snippet detection still recognizes and highlights this code as a snippet of the OFP project. Moving on to our next modified file, I've made some more structural changes. Here, I've played around with the lines, I've merged some, broke other into multiple lines, and well, you can see the results. For example, the first line would be, these variable declarations are all merged into one. And then there are other lines that I've broken into multiple lines and so on. So this is the resulting code I've created reusing the snippet of OFP, and over on the right side, you can see that FossID has matched it to the OFP code still. And now, last but not least, in this final file, I have modified the function parameters. In this case, I've changed the variable names. You can see the new name is new variable name and no longer just name. Despite all of these cumulative changes, FossID still recognizes this snippet as a match against the OFP project. Now, if you look closely, you can see this one line is not highlighted as a match. That's because the variable name change was considered substantial enough, but the main body of code still matches. So in all these changes, we've gone from 22 lines seen as a hit or match to 19. And as you might expect, if I keep on modifying the code more and more, eventually FossID will find less and less of a match. It'll eventually get to the minimum sensitivity threshold you've set for your project. In this case, I've set that to be 10 lines of code, but that can be reduced to as small as 6 lines of code. Any matches smaller than 6 lines would no longer be highlighted as a match. As you can see, there are a great deal of modifications that you can make to the code while still being recognized as a match. There's an important balance to be found in snippet detection. If you go to the absolute extreme insensitivity, you will inevitably increase false positive noise as well. It's best to allow a certain level of modifications, ensure you're still finding relevant matches, and adjust your snippet detection sensitivity according to your business needs. This is a great way to put guardrails around your use of AI coding assistance without introducing risk related to licensing, security, or intellectual property protection. Thank you for taking a closer look at our snippet detection capabilities. I hope you found this useful, and if you have any questions or want to know how you can leverage FossID in your development workflow or software security and license compliance efforts, contact us at FossID.com. If you're an existing client or partner and want to fine-tune your snippet detection, you can reach our support team and find best practices through the FossID support portal. Thank you for your time.